Hello. This is the final presentation for Relationships and Ethics. My name is Aaron Tyler. I'm going to be talking about a few different points that were discussed in this class. First off, why taking care of relationships is important. Number two, having a code of ethics. Where does it come from? And finally, to quote, famous quote, with great power comes great responsibility. So to begin with, why taking care of your relationships is important. The class really discussed different avenues of relationships, and they're really tiered in a sense. You need to focus on, first off, your relationship with God, then focus on your relationship with your wife, if you have one. Then you have your family, and I would also include friends in that category too, as well. And then you have your ministry, the community, your church. I've typically seen it kind of tiered in this sense to help guide, to make sure each section and area is healthy. And not being overlooked. You don't want to be too wrapped up in your ministry that your family is neglected. You don't want to neglect God by being too wrapped up in your personal relationships. Because if you lack it in an area, it can affect the others. And if you neglect the first one and you neglect your relationship with God, then for sure all the other ones and all the other areas will lack and hinder as well. So each one needs its space and each one needs its being taken care of, with, of course, God being up at the top. So having a code of ethics, where does this code of ethics comes from? Where does it come from? Where can you find it? Where does all these rules, so to speak, could come from? And as Christians, it comes from the Bible. First off, it is biblical that those in leadership and ministry will be held to a higher standard by God. And that's an important thing to note and remember, because if you know you're being held to a higher standard, it's something that needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be something that needs to be at a forefront of your mind, that you need to live above reproach. And the Bible is that source. The Bible is the source and our compass of how to live, rules in which to live, how to interact with others, how to have relationships with others, what to do in different situations. It provides everything that we need in that regard. Furthermore, we need to have accountability in our lives. Trustworthy people that we can go to in times of need and help when we're struggling with something, someone that can just tell it to us straight. We need to have that accountability. You can't do it alone and handle certain situations. You just can't do it alone. You need to have other people in your corner, and you have to seek out accountability. It's not just going to fall out of the sky, land in front of you. Like, you have to seek it out and choose to have that as a part of your life. And so finally, with great power comes great responsibility. This kind of goes into like near the end of the class, talking about dealing with the dark side, that section. Higher the call, the higher the fall. Those in higher leaderships with bigger ministries, maybe you have a large church with maybe 1,000 people. You might have a ministry that has thousands of people that look to you in different regards. That's a lot of people looking at you, and you are in the spotlight, and your actions are under the microscope. And while we are human, in those situations, if you slip up, a lot of people are impacted. A lot of people, it will affect your ministry severely if something happens and you slip up, especially in a very ethical and maybe immoral way. And lives are at stake. And church hurt is a real thing. A lot of people leave the church because of being hurt by a minister or by something, or something happened in the church with leadership, and it just causes them to like lose faith in the church. That's a real thing, and that's something also to take into consideration as a leader and a person in ministry, a pastor. Like, your actions have ramifications on how people view church in general. And so, that power that you have in that role requires responsibility. So, in conclusion, just like other things God gives us, relationships and ethics are something we are called to steward. We are called to steward what He's given us, and He has given us relationships with people. We need to steward those effectively and well. And like I've mentioned before, the Bible gives us what we need to live a life that is honorable and filled with integrity. You just need to lean on the Bible, lean on what it says, and lean on others to hold us accountable in hopes that we can be strong in our relationships. So that's my final presentation on relationships and ethics. Thank you.